It's already unbearable.
We're just a bunch of socks.
This is the sleepover of the September live.
I mean, it is a Friday night, so why not?
So we're all in our cozy blankets, and we're going to talk about Marvel movies and boss battles and a book and lots of things. And I have no notes for any of this because it's been a very long day and I'm pure chaos.
Just like a Christine live show then.
Yes, it's going to be that.
Christine style.
Yeah.
Anyways, welcome to the Avengers Initiative Reading Challenge. By now, you know all of these people, so I don't feel the need to introduce them, but they are linked down below.
Do they really know us? Oh my god.
You know what,
Margaret?
Margaret?
I think we just met the other day.
Do they really know us, though? I mean, our deepest, darkest secrets?
I think at this point, yes. We also
I'm pretty open on the internet.
We also know that Margaret lives in Florida and Christine has dogs.
Wait, guys, I don't know if you guys knew this, but today Margaret told us she lives in Florida.
I think my specific thing was in Florida, they have these certain standards.
I can't believe I didn't know this.
I know, right?
Yeah,
I
can't believe you got all the way
she was from
Orlando and didn't
Kalamazoo.
figure out that I live here.
I know. It's
Like
not
that,
like, you know.
With my car, with its Florida license and everything.
Anyways, hi, welcome. We're going to talk about Doctor Strange and Black Panther. We're going to talk about the boss battles that happened in with those movies. And we're going to talk about the things she's seen, which was the group book for September.
We're going to argue about it is what we're going to do.
I don't know that we're going to argue about it.
I don't know, because I feel like I know the reasons you guys liked it, and I agree with, like, I can't, like, argue with those reasons. So
I don't think
Margaret's going to admit defeat. All right, cool.
No, I'm just going to say sometimes books don't work for people.
Yeah, that's honestly the main thing with this book is, like, it's not for everyone. Like, not everyone is going to be able to enjoy it, and I can understand that. But that will not stop me from loving it.
Right.
Like, it's just one of those things where it's like, I appreciate that it's not always for everyone.
No, Mitch. Tony Stark is the Gemini.
Guys, it was Mitchell's birthday this week.
Oh, happy birthday, Mitchell.
Should we say happy birthday?
Also, Margaret is a Capricorn.
How did you figure that
Did
out?
you know she has 4 Capricorn placements on her chart?
Wow, that actually makes so much sense.
Wow.
Did you not know that, Brianna?
No, I didn't.
Not only is she a Capricorn, but
2 of them are in my big 3, Brianna. So, like, it explains so much about me.
That I did know.
Yeah. The only thing saving me from being completely, like, insufferable is the fact that I have an Aries moon.
Harry Carden.
Here, hello. All right.
Hello. Welcome to Avengers Do Astrology. I'll go get Merritt. Give me a minute.
There you go. There's your birthday candle there.
Chaos energy.
I had a blanket
Friday
in
night on your channel,
but it was too hot. Like I literally said.
Also this.
I haven't said that yet. We haven't even gotten there.
But it's another item on an Avengers show bingo board.
Yeah, but
we should make a bingo board.
That it's gonna happen.
That's a good idea,
Oh my
Rich.
God.
That's not an idea we haven't
It should also be Christine spoils something inevitably, like.
And Christine talks to Bucky.
We should put Margaret mentions that Tony Stark is also a Gemini to make Christine mad on that bingo board.
I'm not mad about it anymore. Because you know who's also a Gemini that cancels it out? You know who's a Gemini that cancels Tony out?
Brie Larson?
Jesper. Brie Larson's birthday's today.
Oh, good for her. I have no idea when her birthday is.
It was just such an interesting thing to say for her birthday to be like, actually today. She is a Libra, just like Mitchell, whose birthday was this week.
Sebastian stands a Leo, so that's all I care about.
Yeah, I know you win. You're winning that.
Wow,
Tom
that does
Holland's
not
Gemini.
surprise me at all.
I'm just sitting here as the only cool Capricorn.
Right. Let's talk about general accomplishments. How are we doing in the month of September? Or how did we do?
I got
books.
What are
we asking? Hold on, I'm sorry. I heard half of the question and then my brain stopped working.
Sharon.
How are we doing in September? How did we do?
Sharon.
How did we do for the month?
Yeah.
Nebula and Wasp. The only one I didn't get was Peggy.
The two?
I got a lot of Ant-Man done. I actually ended up finishing Hawkeye as well. And then I also think I finished Doctor Strange.
Very nice.
Yeah, so yes, I did finish Doctor Strange. So I did pretty well this month.
Very nice.
Michelle, they all gave up.
There it is. I found it.
Wait. No, that's August. I have no idea how I did this month. I haven't done the wrap up for that yet. I'm sorry. I was like, I just did my wrap up.
I think I got Sharon like yesterday when I finished the group book. And I think I got Vision this month. But I did most of his in August. I was just like missing one thing.
Yeah. I finished Vision, Sharon, Peggy. Did I finish Ant-Man this month? I think so. Yeah. Maybe. I don't know. But I have 23 boards people now. So I'm happy with having 23 people. That's pretty cool.
There you go.
You know.
Okay. Hi, Sherlock.
Hi, Sherlock. Giant mop of curls.
And now they're all coming in. It's fine. Okay, guys, go. Okay. They're trying to knock over my light and everything. All right. Which movie did we watch first? I don't even remember.
Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange.
Okay. So let's talk about Doctor Strange. Because
it was fun watching it with Margaret for the little while that we
30
did.
seconds.
I have an essay on why I don't like it, so I'll let you all go first.
No, I will say that movie's cinematography was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make up for it.
It doesn't make up for the lack of
I think it had moments. I think there were things that they did not handle well, and I think that I feel like they maybe tried to cram too much into one story. Because, like, there was just, like, the first half of the movie, I'm just like, oh, it's an asshole who's a really good doctor. I mean, I did like the fact that you really established that even though he's an asshole, he really does care about his patients and then actually, like, surviving. So, like, he was a good doctor, but an asshole to the people in his life. And I was like, all of this mopey period, whatever, this is boring. It's like, there was, like, a third of the movie that was actually interesting.
It felt like two separate movies. Like, I feel like the vibe of the movie, like, pre-injury and post-injury were just so different.
Yeah. And like it was a messy movie. I want like the cinematography, the fight scenes were fantastic, but like it was a messy movie.
It's the movie that it's like that book that should have been a duology. That is this movie.
Also should have been directed by an Asian man or Asian person.
Oh, it should have just had way more Asian characters.
Also, the beginning was like super duper dark. I couldn't see anything that was happening.
Yeah,
the coloring in the movie, whatever like filter they're putting over all that shit was so gray and dismal.
Mm-hmm.
And it reminded me of 300, and I hated it. I was like, why does everything need to?
Yeah, the color grading. I understand the choices they were trying to make, but it doesn't come off right.
No,
because it takes away from your ability to like see well enough, and it distracts. Like your color grading should
a very quiet movie.
Your color grading should enhance the mood. Mm-hmm. It shouldn't distract from the content. You know?
And likewise,
because I don't remember ever like thinking that was a problem when I saw it in theaters. So I wonder if it's just like more of a like because you're seeing it at home with like lights on and stuff around that's why it's so darker.
Maybe, but I think what it did was it made like such a kind of jarring switch between the more magical scenes and then like the more realistic scenes. I think what they could have done was like better adjust the color grading like as it went on. So like the beginning could have been more like gray and doctory, and then
was that me or is Christine frozen?
I think it's Christine.
Christine's frozen.
Okay.
Am I back?
You're
Yeah.
back. My blanket wearing friend.
Am I back?
Yes.
You're back. Oh, you were.
Okay. Anyways, can I just give my essay now on why I really didn't like it?
Okay, go ahead.
Well, you're frozen again. No, wait, you're back.
Fuck.
Now you're back.
Okay.
You're good. Okay.
Okay. So I don't want to get into comics at all because A, he's not my favorite character to read because he's always so like emotionally removed from everything. That's kind of his thing, so I don't like reading him. And B, like if we're going for a movie, make a good movie. Even if it is a bit different from the comics. This was Marvel's way of taking all the Orientalism out of like Asian tropes of movies without putting any Asian characters on the screen for like more than 30 seconds. Like Benedict Wong's character is so underplayed in this movie compared to what we've seen him do in later films and what I'm assuming he will do in later films. And like the fact that the majority of this movie is white and it's just like them dressing up in like Nepalese outfits and stuff. It's the most like Orientalist garbage I've ever seen in my life. It's really boring. Doctor Strange isn't likable at the beginning or the end. There's hardly an emotional journey. There's no reason for him to be good at what he's doing. He goes from really shit one day to really good the next. It's a totally unbelievable like training arc. Yeah, it's terrible. The only good scene is that fight scene in the New York Sanctum
Institute. Yeah, Sanctum.
The Institute. Yeah, the Sanctum. That's the only good scene.
Really like Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange, and I feel like
He's
that
not
is
his
the only
fault.
reason I liked the movie.
I think that honestly, like him, like Benedict Cumberbatch is the only reason that like that movie is actually bearable because of everything.
I find it unbearable.
Well, like,
I think Rachel McAdams did a really good job too.
It's not the actors; they have amazing. Every single one of those actors are incredible.
Yeah.
This is completely on production, direction, writing. Like those, they have Oscar level actors all around playing really flat characters that don't have any, like,
or playing characters they shouldn't be playing.
Like Mordo is the only character that has a real kind of emotional journey when he gets like betrayed, where he like the woman he believed in for so long wasn't who she said she was. He's the only character who you actually see have like a real emotional break, I think. And
but then he, you know, becomes the villain,
which is so.
But does he though? But does he though? Like he better come back. He
but I mean, like
better
they
come back
like,
with a fury in.
They
Doctor
set
Strange
that
2.
up though.
But
I don't
then
know.
they did nothing.
I feel like they're just going to completely forget about it because
That's kind of what I feel too.
Like I think that Doctor Strange is going to go more into like the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, and like Wanda's going to be in it and stuff.
Forget that end credit scene that like ever existed.
Yeah.
Which honestly, I wouldn't be mad if they did because I do think that like there is a problem with the fact that
absolutely
the guy that is out there like becoming a serial murderer is a black man. Like there's a problem.
But that's the whole movie though. That's the whole like that's the whole movie is just like only white people allowed.
Right, but that's not,
like also what does it say that they would rather have a black man in an Asian role than an Asian man in an Asian role. Like what's going on with this movie in Asian erasure?
I get what they were trying to do with being feminist and casting a woman as the ancient one. But
they could have casted an Asian woman.
There are so many good Asian American or Asian actresses, period, that could
statistically
have
there are so many more Asian women than there are Tilda Swintons.
There are. And so many women who would have been able to pull that part off.
Pull the driest part on motherfucking earth off. You do not need to be a good actor to stand there and look bald.
Yeah. Like that.
Listen, I feel there are some women out there who would have made that, like Michelle Yeoh. I think is that how you pronounce her name?
She's in Shang-Chi. She's in Shang-Chi and she fucking nailed it.
Nailed it. Fantastic job. You could have given her 0 lines and we would have known exactly what she was thinking the entire time.
I'm just saying, like, going from watching Shang-Chi this month to watching Doctor Strange, it like shows you how grotesque Doctor Strange is, because it's just like, it's just playing dress up with Asian themes, whereas Shang-Chi is like an Asian story.
Well, even just like this movie versus the next one, it shows you the difference between having someone who is of that culture direct the movie versus having just anyone direct the movie.
A white man.
Well, and also think about the other movies Benedict Cumberbatch has been in as Doctor Strange. He's so much more likable.
Yeah.
In Thor, in both the Thanos movies, he's funny. He was not funny in this. I just wanted to kick him in the balls.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some issues with the way that he was written.
Yeah. I mean, like, I feel like he did the best he could with the lines that he was given.
Oh, yeah, not his fault.
I mean, like, he really, really tried to, like, put some humor in it. But I really feel like he ended up kind of playing like a Vulcan.
I feel like
a great way to describe the
personal version of Sherlock.
Like, he was
American.
There is just no heart to the movie.
Sherlock is fucking funny.
True.
Like, that is a very humorous show. Like, those lines are great.
I think what they could have done is, first of all, make everyone
Hire a different director.
Hire a different, but like I think they could have built up a really solid friendship between Wong, Doctor Strange, and Mordo.
Yeah,
and then had Mordo's like betrayal moment feel a lot more, because you just don't give a fuck.
Well, because it honestly really feels like when you get to that end scene, you're like, wait, was that guy in the movie?
Right.
No, I knew he was in the movie. Like, that was
but not literally, but like he was so different, not memorable.
Yeah.
And so useless in the fight scenes, especially when, again, like later in Infinity War and shit, like Wong is not a useless character. No. He's a really cool character. And I get that he just wanted to vibe in his library, like same. But like they were like, yes, we hired our one Asian actor for representation and we're gonna stick him in the room with the books and lock the fucking door. And
we had 30 seconds of one other person who was supposed to be the ancient one. I mean,
like, so it's just kind of, I think they could have done a lot better by making this a movie about like him not healing through just like being the best at everything all the time, but like maybe actually through friendship.
Well, and I think like I think it kind of defeats the purpose of like a character arc, because he goes from being the best at what he is as a surgeon to being the best at what he is as a sorcerer.
Wong should be the sorcerer supreme.
Doesn't learn anything.
Wong.
I was actually surprised because I could have sworn. Oh, I love his American accent.
I actually do too, but this is a very common critique.
Like,
I don't actually notice it. It didn't bother me.
He granted, I'm not from the Northeast, but like,
wait,
that
you're not?
No way.
Are you from Florida? I'm not from the Northeast, honey. I'm from the Southeast.
No, I'm from the South North.
Sorry, you're from the North. You're from the Southeast.
The further south you get in Florida,
you're the penis of America.
The further north it gets.
Anyways,
our most southern part of our state is in the north.
No, there are a lot of people that do not like.
We are the penis of the United States.
Wait, do you guys not call it that?
Yeah, I do. I know that's what we are.
Mitchell got bingo.
Have you seen the Big Mouth episode about Florida?
No.
Anyways, no, there are a lot of people that don't like his American accent, which like I think is valid, especially if like you were introduced to him as Sherlock, because it is very different.
Oh, it's been so long since I've seen Sherlock, so it doesn't matter.
Right.
But like I know audiobook narrators that sound like that. Does that make sense?
I think they could have just left him British.
It's a very I don't know that it's Bostonian, but it's kind of
it's a very like not upper crust, but like almost like I want to say like
is it a Toronto accent?
Almost.
Possibly.
Like because I think it's like upstate New York accent.
Yeah.
It's like it's not upper crust, but it's very like is yuppie the right word?
Like Connecticut?
Yeah.
Vermont? You know, I think honestly, it would have made his character like 13% better if they'd left him British.
Right? What in the comics says that he's not British?
I don't care what the comics say. I still think they should have made him Asian.
And yet I still love that accent. So I'm cool with it.
Okay, Christine. So if you could cast Doctor Strange as Asian, then who would it be?
Okay, so do you know Daniel Day Kim?
Who doesn't?
He's in Hawaii Five-0 and Lost.
He's fucking hot as fuck.
Hot as fuck.
Yeah.
Can you imagine him as Doctor Strange?
I would die.
The only casting choice I would keep the same is Wong and Christine. Because I think Rachel McAdams did great. I have no criticisms.
I like Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange. I just wish that they wouldn't have like leaned so heavily into the Asian culture if they weren't going to use an Asian. Like
if they weren't going to use anyone who is Asian for a significant part.
Like, I don't think that there's a problem with him going and learning Asian.
No.
Like
it's
just scary.
Like, the people teaching it.
It should probably be Asian.
Let's pretend everyone's Asian but Benedict Cumberbatch. Then it's like Tom Cruise Last Samurai. Then it's just white saviory.
That's true.
Because his main lesson is in humility, I think there is a way you could have done that, but you really would have had to get into, and this isn't something Marvel was going to do, is get into like cultural appropriation, unlearning stereotypes, all of that. Like there is a story where that works, but I don't think it would have yeah.
Well, and then if you're going to do it correctly, then he doesn't become the keeper of the stone. Wong does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like it just feels really false to me that he's there. What is it, like 1 year? And he's like, I'm just wielding a time stone now.
Yeah, I hated that.
Meanwhile, fucking Peter Quill and friends touch one, and they're like, "Oh, my nerves!" Like,
yeah, that's part of the thing to me that bugs me is that it's so.
Well, you've got to keep in mind it is in a vessel of some sort. He's not touching it directly. So whatever it's in is probably made to be able to use it without hurting you.
Potato, tomato. It's all plot magic.
You said potato, tomato.
Yes.
No one ever says that. I'm so proud of you, Christine.
Thank you.
Anyways,
name one good thing about that movie other than Rachel McAdams looking hot in scrubs and that New York fight scene.
Matt Mikkelsen.
Again, tragically underused because he is such a good villain and he is so fuckable. Okay. And I'm like, why do they have him in the worst guy liner Marvel's ever done?
Oh my god, his eye makeup was so bad.
So bad. And I'm like, I know you can do better than this. I've seen Winter Soldier.
I think he was really comfortable though, because I heard in an interview that he doesn't like to wear suits.
Oh no. Oh baby. But like, you know, he could have been scarier. They could have made him way scarier. They just didn't.
Absolutely.
They gave him like stupid lines.
Yes. The cape. The cape was also good.
The cape was the best
hilarious.
Character. The cape is the best character.
It's true.
I also liked the moment in the library where like it was a conversation about what happened to the last librarian, and he's like, he got beheaded, and I'm just like, yes, I like you. Like that's where Wong wins me over. I mean, granted, it wasn't very hard because I knew him for the last two movies, but I was just like, yes, that's the answer I would give to.
Wong is amazing. Wong and Shang-Chi too is like, whatever they had envisioned for Wong in this movie is not what he did in Shang-Chi. He came out there
once Infinity War happened, which is not this month. We'll talk about it in November. That's where he really started shining.
Yeah.
Even though he wasn't really in it for a very long time, his like 2 scenes.
But
I mean, that's also the movie that gave us. I have been falling for 30 minutes. So
that's Ragnarok.
No, that's Ragnarok.
Oh, never mind.
Isn't it Ragnarok? But
but
Doctor Strange in Ragnarok is fucking funny. It's not the actors. It is purely who's making the movie. Because of course Taika Waititi came in there and was like, we can make this fucking good. And like did it in 30 seconds. Just made a better character. And whoever's doing Spider-Man this time, I'm sure Benedict Cumberbatch is going to be great in that too. Like I mean, like even from the trailer, you can already see it. Right, it's already fun. The trailer for Spider-Man No Way Home is better than the entire Doctor Strange movie.
I will give you that. That's why when people get mad about like
in that trailer,
that's why when people get mad about an actor not being able to act in like one movie, I'm like, guys, like you have to take into consideration the director, because the actor has to play their choices to what the director wants. Like very few actors have the kind of pull they need to be able to say no to everything.
Like I think now, if like whoever directed, I don't even know who directed Strange. If he came back in and directed a new Strange movie, I think that Benedict would have a little bit more leeway, being like, no, that's actually not what my character would say. But with it being like his introduction to Marvel, you didn't have a whole lot of leverage.
And you also have to pick your battles, because you have to choose like, okay, what are the important things for me to push back again? Like Haley Atwell, is it Haley Atwell? Peggy talks about it all the time, like having to figure out like, what are you going to push back against?
Right.
Well, and it's just like an actor like Robert Downey Jr. or Scarlett Johansson could go in and make their character because they want that person so badly, right? Like Robert Downey Jr. sold so many fucking tickets. They gave him all the money in the world. So if he wants to have Tony Smark. If he wanted to have Tony fucking smoking crack cocaine, it probably would have worked. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, but yeah, you're right. Like you see other actors come out in their roles as the movies go on. And I really hope that in Doctor Strange 2, we get, like, I have faith that that's going to be a good movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just think this movie was bad.
Like, really, prior to Marvel, Benedict Cumberbatch hadn't done a lot.
In North America. He'd done a lot in England, but North American audiences.
Like, the only, like, really big, like, theatrical thing he had done was Star Trek.
And the
which
Oscar
he was also
one,
very good in.
The Oscar one with Keira Knightley, the on Alan Turing, the Imitation Game.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So that's why he got, I think, more like, because Sherlock had such a like Tumblr community around it, and that then he got the Oscar buzz. It was
yeah. But like Marvel made him a household thing.
Then compare him to Paul Rudd, who everyone, it's not that Paul Rudd's a better or worse actor. Everyone in America already knows fucking Paul Rudd and loves Paul Rudd. Paul Rudd was allowed to do whatever the fuck he wanted with Ant-Man.
Well, and like, really, Paul Rudd, like, there were people that questioned that casting choice.
Yeah, which is stupid.
Just like
Paul Rudd's
questioned Owen Wilson with Mobius.
Well, see, I understand that one, but I stopped questioning. What was it? There was I think it was it back.
Never question Mobius.
No question, but like
Mobius.
There were so many.
Kristen, it's gonna be okay.
Owen Wilson is not
you just gotta breathe, okay?
Oh, Heath Ledger.
I just wanted to ride a fucking jet ski.
I stopped questioning comic book casting around the time of like the Christian Bale Batmans, because I remember like being skeptical towards the beginning for some of the casting choices, and then when they cast Anne Hathaway, I was like, I don't see it, but right hair, right makeup, we can make it work. Like I'll that was it. I'll withhold judgment until I've seen it, and from then on, I was just like, these actors have so much more than like especially the ones that have been classically trained. They may play one type of role, but that doesn't mean they're not able to do another type.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And I think like too with Shang-Chi this month, like Awkwafina is probably one that you wouldn't have put in a superhero movie, and then she does a great job.
I wouldn't have put Awkwafina in a movie at all, but that's just me.
Well, you're gonna eat your words when you see Shang-Chi.
Oh, I'm sure she's fantastic. I just like she does not handle the fact that she used a black scent very well. So like I would have chosen someone who didn't have that kind of baggage behind them to be a major character in my movie.
So does he.
It's 2021 in Hollywood. Who doesn't have baggage?
Yeah, but there are some very specific kinds of baggage.
Well, I don't
Tom
know.
Holland's worst crime is spoiling things badly.
That's because he is a child.
He's older than me, Margaret.
Tom
By
Holland?
1 year, almost exactly, because he's also a June baby.
Margaret, I think we're old.
But I feel like he's still just like
it's
an attitude. Like he just acts like a baby.
I still love that
Like he just acts like a kid.
He's aged well because he takes care of himself, and I'm like,
well,
And he's British.
I mean, I think my favorite Marvel moment is that off-screen moment where you have Chris Evans like doing the screen read to see so they can do like the chemistry read between Spidey and he flips it and Chris Evans just is like, I'm too old for that. Like you can see him feeling his age.
he's like, ooh, that gymnastics training we had to do was a lot for me, and this kid dances.
Like, you could see him going, what the fuck?
This was probably the best decision that Marvel ever made.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what Sam Raimi does with it because he did bring so much into those early Spider-Man movies. So
yeah.
Oh, Sam
Even if
Raimi
they were
really loved
not my favorite.
Spider-Man.
So is there anything else that we have to talk about?
Well, yeah, and I think he can make a really good comic movie, and I don't think Doctor Strange was a really good comic movie.
Yeah.
Right.
There's a difference,
I
right?
think
Like,
he can make a good Marvel movie. I think there's a difference between what a Marvel movie should be and what a DC movie should be.
well, but even then, I don't think all superhero movies are really good comic movies. Like, I would say The Dark Knight is a fantastic fucking film, but not a comic-y movie.
Not a comic movie. Right.
Right? Whereas like Suicide Squad is a comic-y movie.
Right.
Like it feels more like a comic book, even though it's not as good of a film.
I think probably the most comic book movie in the MCU is Ragnarok.
And the first Captain America movie is like super panel leak. Like it looks like a comic book.
Well,
It feels like a comic
first
book.
Captain America movie feels like one of those early comics. I think that like Ragnarok, you're right, and then like the Spider-Man movies feel like a Spider-Man comic book. All of them, every iteration has felt like that was what Spider-Man was at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Dark Knight, not to go off on my tangent, but Dark Knight is very much like if you've read any Frank Miller Batman, it's a Frank Miller movie.
But I'd still say it's more cinematic. Like it's like more art than it is. Like it's a very like I'm not shitting on it at all. I'm saying it's a better movie than almost all of them. But like it's like a different kind of film than you don't have to like superheroes to like that film.
Right.
Yeah, and it's Batman. Like Batman doesn't necessarily like he's on this gray area where is he a superhero? Is he just a
but you know, Michael Keaton was a comic booky Batman.
Right.
We don't talk George Clooney.
Yes, we do. Some of us like those old movies, except the Val Kilmer.
I do.
And then, like the Suicide. You already said the Suicide Squad. Like that. What is his name? That Joker is a very comic book Joker. Whereas I don't think Heath Ledger was a comic book Joker.
It depends on which version of Joker you're getting, because like that Joker does appear in some of the comic books. That's definitely a bend that a lot of the Batman writers like,
which are still considered the most literary of the Batman comic books, right? Like you're not.
To some extent, yes, and so like
it's not your stereotypical comic book.
Yeah.
When we did like Margaret, for example, I took a university English course on comic books, and that was one of the ones that was assigned.
Yeah,
like we weren't assigned just like a random issue of Captain America. Like nobody gives a shit.
Yeah.
You know?
Like so as messy as the story and as bloated as it was, like Batman versus Superman was another one that like you could tell like they didn't do it well, but you could tell they were trying to make a comic book into a movie. Yeah. Yes, exactly. They didn't do it well because they didn't cut it right. They didn't like could have cut that to be a good story.
Yeah,
they
but
focus
it feels like a comic book movie.
Yeah.
Bruce Wayne is a more comic book Batman in that,
I mean, he's still in character and everything. Like, he's still...
Doctor Strange.
We're talking about how Doctor Strange is a bad movie by talking about what are good movies.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything that we have to say about that specific movie before we move on?
I got nothing else. I don't think, except Tilda Swinton shouldn't have been cast. That's just
100%
no. Like, Mads Mikkelsen was totally wrong. Wong is my Sorcerer Supreme.
I could have sworn that, like, in one of the later movies, Benedict was the Sorcerer Supreme, and I'm like, he doesn't become that in this movie? I'm so confused.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyways, moving on to my favorite Marvel movie.
The boss battle for Doctor Strange.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We have those two.
Yeah. What was that again?
The food
the
thing.
kitchen
fan art with your food?
You guys did so much more effort than me, people watching. I took out a packet of paprika and I said, haha, what movie am I referencing? And then put it away. That's what I did.
So good.
I totally did not do that. I totally forgot about it.
I was going to
this was all Christine's. Like, this was Christine's idea.
No, whoa. Hold on a hot fucking second. I wanted to do art. And then if we had been allowed to do art, I would have drawn. I would have made a pretty art. And then you guys were like, what about food? And I was like, I'm not doing fucking food.
Art. No, but not you guys. I was like, what if we did fan art based on only items found in your kitchen?
That's right.
It was weird and funny and something that, like, you didn't have to be too serious about. Like, I hated
like, after the, like, extents of Civil War and Ultron and all these other ones, we needed something funny.
I just want, before I die, I want to see everybody's actual Marvel fan art.
So for me, as a person who used to do art, I get to like, if I have to do something serious, I get paralyzed for something like this. I hate 24-hour challenges that are like, draw this, or like, so I was like, let's do something
have to be
like
serious. Like, you literally, it doesn't have to be serious. If you drew a stick figure Bucky holding a stick figure rocket and a gun, I'd be like, A+.
And you
I want fun Marvel
see
fan
my
art.
art.
Like, draw Chris Evans' butt. Like, draw America's ass. Like,
because I am who I am, I cannot do that. I cannot physically do that, Christine.
Yeah, Christine, you did see
physically
my art, though.
So, anyways, that one was fun.
Your voice moved, but your lips did not.
The funniest one.
That one was so funny.
The Pop-Tart house with the salt
So
and
good.
the onion.
So good.
My favorite was the one that was supposed to be "This is how you lose the time war." I was like,
Yeah.
that shit. That's brilliant. That's genius.
And the fact that you had a cutting board that was like the exact same color.
I don't know how we did that, but like we said in your kitchen, not go out and buy things for your kitchen that you can make art out of. I had a whole plan. I was gonna make like the Eye of Amorato using pasta and then an olive in the middle, and then I just completely forgot. And by the time I remembered, I was like, I don't care.
You forgot about both boss battles this month.
I did, and I was gonna do Black Panther too. In my defense,
I did too.
My life was entirely turned upside down twice that weekend. So, like, not in a bad way, guys. I just, like, I had to move out of my house and then back into my house.
Yeah, it's a little hard to do kitchen art when you're packing and unpacking your kitchen.
That was before. Black Panther was the one that was that was when we were packing literally everything you can put in or on your body, taking it somewhere else, and then finding out 2 days early that we didn't even need to have done any of that in the first place. Because they didn't tint our house.
That's annoying. So anyways, did you guys like those like funny challenges?
I thought it was fun.
We had a lot of fun.
I liked what people came up with. Like,
yeah, I was impressed by people's initiative, but once you guys said food, mine was gone.
Yeah,
I'll never
I think it was fun, and it was like just like lighthearted, and like it wasn't supposed to be taken seriously. It was supposed to just be funny
and be easy.
And easy, yeah.
Something you could do without having to leave your house.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. So then we moved on to Black Panther, which was like the opposite end of the spectrum from.
So good.
Such a better movie.
Like, so one of the interesting things to me was watching it and seeing how certain choices were handled, that you could tell those choices about the original character in the comics had been made by a white man.
Mm-hmm.
And then seeing how, like, is it Ryan Coogler that was the director?
Yeah.
How Ryan Coogler and like the creative team behind Black Panther chose to portray those choices. Like, and there were like little small things that you're like, I don't think if someone who was Black had been in charge of creating this character, I don't think we would have had a tribe that was a gorilla. I just don't know that would have happened.
Okay, but when you think about what M'Baku is in the comics, though, like thank fucking God that we got Winston Duke looking like fucking Zeus up in his mountain instead of an actual man gorilla. Like,
right.
Because they took a really bad character and turned it into a real.
Mm-hmm. Listen, most attractive character in the movie.
would have his.
They turned him into daddy.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not good.
It's gorilla.
He's like literally a gorilla. Yeah, it's not good. It's a bad moment for Marvel for sure.
They seem to have a lot of those.
Like, I can't remember what the other, because there were a couple of other things that I was like, oh yeah, a white man definitely was like the one that created this character.
Nakia in the comics is a member of the Dora Milaje that is like so in love with T'Challa that at one point she tries to kill Storm. Because in the comics he's married to Storm. So I like that, like, instead of having her be like a crazy stalkery bitch, Nakia was like the most useful character of any movie ever.
I'm so sad we won't get to see more of them.
I'm really glad that we watched both of these movies this month, because I think that there's a very distinct difference between like the cultural appropriation that is Doctor Strange and how well they like appreciated and like honored the culture in Black Panther.
Well, not only that, because they had this opportunity to create a nation, like all like Afrofuturism. They had the opportunity to do that, and they hired actors of the Black diaspora from like all parts of the world. Yeah. Like Letitia Wright's from South America. Like Lupita Nyong'o was born in Mexico. Like they're from all over the world. And they borrowed from all parts of African culture to make Wakanda. So it wasn't just like an African stereotype. It was like they went in and chose languages and chose fashion styles and chose so much.
They went in and they imagined an African country that had never had any like colonialism come and screw it up. Yeah. Like that was.
Yeah.
Which was great, because like if you think about like the history of the MCU and how they, for instance with Doctor Strange, they don't hire any Asian actors.
Or anyone on the development team.
Right. Whereas in Black Panther there are 2 white characters.
Does that include Bucky or exclude Bucky? Because I don't know if we can
excluding Bucky.
Okay.
No, you have Bilbo and there's a
Claw.
Yes.
Claw.
Yes.
Bilbo and Smeagol.
Listen, they're the Tolkien white guys.
Have you never heard that joke before? It's a great joke.
Oh my god, I just got it. Oh my god.
Also, can we talk about the natural hair and like black hair love in this movie? Like
so great.
Okoye being like the hottest person there and bald, like,
and like how much better she looked in that dress after she got to take the wig off, and it was just like, so much better now.
Was not a quality wig, like a quality wig.
Well, yeah.
Like that was they didn't even try to find her a good wig. They could have found her a good wig.
Right.
So
I just love that you have like some like I just think that movie, there are problems I have with the movie that are like pretty deep to my core, but it mostly being the way they handled the villain, who was like Magneto, right until a point. But
he was right until he shot his girlfriend for no good
which
reason.
is the only reason he did that, because you can't have the villain being more morally correct than
the fact that he wanted to commit a genocide.
No, he
Like,
did not. He did not. He did not want to commit a genocide. He wanted to liberate.
He wanted to liberate by oppressing, though.
He wanted to liberate by removing Black people from white oppression.
So, like, the idea of like one government over the entire world, not smart. But
world domination.
Not smart. You're living in America. If it happens, if Killmonger happens to our countries, especially your countries, we
deserve it.
We fucking earned it.
But we're not saying that's the greatest idea.
Yeah, no, it's a terrible idea.
I'd rather give Killmonger a chance than anyone that's running your elections or our elections, really. So he wasn't wrong.
If we had given Killmonger a chance, Killmonger wouldn't be Killmonger.
Yeah.
Okay, well, anyway, aside from the white people, because it's not about them.
No, but I'm saying, like,
not always about you guys.
Oh, I wasn't just talking about like the U.S. Like because he was like going the entire world, and I was like,
He's right. He's right still. No, but okay, but here's I think it's misinterpreted because his theories are based on Frantz Fanon, his man from Martinique, Black man from Martinique, his theories of how to like liberate oneself from colonial violence. Like Killmonger's character is based in liberation theory and decolonization theory and resistance.
Well, but
T'Challa's are based on feel good for the white audience. We don't want to scare the white audience away.
I think that they purposely misinterpreted him so that he would be a villain.
So that's what I'm saying. Because up until the point, like when he breaks into that museum and steals back that shit, you're rooting for him. Yeah. You're rooting for him until the moment that he kills his girlfriend. Right? Because until that moment, he is absolutely right. And if he hadn't done that, you'd still root for him. So they had to make him, in some regard, morally reprehensible. So you would actually root for T'Challa, who is kind of ethically a bit of a weaker character. Like you have Nakia, who's really ethically pointed, Killmonger, who's really ethically pointed, and T'Challa in the middle, like, I don't know. And yeah, I get that that's his journey. But if Killmonger had been a little bit nicer, you'd be like, get the fuck out of here, T'Challa. I want Killmonger as king. So that's why they had to have him do that, which is an utter tragedy because he's a wonderful, like, character. Honestly, he's a really well-written and superbly acted and designed character. Mm-hmm. And if that hadn't happened, if they hadn't literally used an excuse to murder a Black woman, like, on screen, like, I'm just saying.
Well, and it's just evidence of like what cultural upbringing does, urban versus in your supposed natural environment. So it's like,
well, I think
even urban versus privileged. Like
that was done on purpose.
Like that was, I think a lot of it is the fact that T'Challa had the privilege to grow up in a place where he wasn't experiencing the things that Killmonger was.
Well, it's not even like the urban versus it's the like T'Challa was not a racial minority. Right?
Yeah.
T'Challa but it's the fact that
he didn't know oppression the way Killmonger did.
Yeah. No, or at all.
He knew of it, but he never really experienced it.
Right.
What were you gonna say, Michelle?
I lost it. It was there, but it's not well rounded.
It happens.
And then they did it again in the fucking episode of What If. They're like, what if Killmonger got another chance? And I was like, you don't say. Well, and then they fucking screw it up again. I was like,
that goes back to like superhero villains being the ones that have the language of revolutions versus
it's literally Magneto.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally Magneto. And it's just like...
See, I agree with Killmonger more than I agree with Magneto.
No, I agree with Magneto because Magneto is like a veiled allegory for...
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I agree with Magneto too.
He's a veiled allegory for any kind of oppression you want to like put onto it, whether or not you like it's been interpreted as disability, race, sexual identity. Magneto is.
It depends on which version of Magneto, because there's a version of Magneto I agree with, and there's a version of Magneto that's like, I want to kill everyone who's not a mutant, and I'm like, I don't. That's not the.
In the comics, Magneto wants to create a space where mutants are safe by removing and eliminating humans from that space.
Yeah,
and
but depending on which writer you're reading, sometimes that means he actually wants to like wipe out humans.
Right,
like,
but if you look at the theory that it's based on, and not every writer is going to interpret it properly, the theory that he is based on is I can't talk about this on live internet. I'll be misinterpreted, but like Charles and Magneto are based on two prominent figures at the time, one of whom I agree with more than the other. So like, and I lean in the Magneto direction. So and it's the same concept in this movie, except instead of like in X-Men, you have Charles who knows what he believes in. And in this, you have T'Challa very stuck between two worlds. Yeah. And I think I really would have loved it if Killmonger didn't have to die. I think is what
I would have liked it too if he didn't have to die, because I feel like he could have been like, there were things he still could have accomplished.
Yep, I think they could have found a compromise. I think he could have redeemed the part of him that murdered one person. That's the only death that you know what? Also the member of the Dora Milaje. Those two.
Yeah.
But, you know.
Well, what do we know about the other people he killed, though? Like.
I don't care.
They're not on screen. We don't care.
They're not important.
I only care about what he did on screen. The rest of it I can imagine was in the name of justice.
There you go.
For the U.S. military, which
it was self-defense.
Not always bent towards justice.
Well, yeah, but also like I don't know if I necessarily blame all the young men who were.
Oh, I don't either.
Yeah.
But I think there's a difference between people who joined the military because they needed the economic boost, or because they were taught that it's the right thing.
Did.
And then people who joined the military and turned their profession into like wanting to kill people.
Yeah, but you know that he based on his upbringing, he certainly would have turned to it for economic stability.
Yeah, for sure.
So I just think he's a more interesting character than T'Challa.
No, you're not wrong about that.
Yeah, and
I really love T'Challa's family dynamic.
Oh my god, him and Shuri are the best thing in the whole world.
I'm gonna miss that.
She's still gonna be there.
My favorite is when people were like, "Oh, mom's got eyes on the back of her head," and I'm just like, guys, she didn't have to have eyes on the back of her head. She saw T'Challa's reaction to what Shuri did and knew what had happened.
Right, exactly. I know it's all like theory at this point, but I like really hope she becomes the next Black Panther.
I would be insulted if
how
she didn't.
Amazing she would be at it.
What would be the alternative? M'Baku? They're not going to do that. They can't do that.
I don't know.
You look really good in that suit, though.
This is true.
No, I think he looks better in his current getup.
He does,
which is very little.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what would be the alternative. I think it's probably the obvious choice, but I don't. Yeah. When is the last time Marvel did something?
When is the last time that Marvel did a female character, made a good choice about a female character when they should have?
Okay, they did right by Sam.
They're getting a lot better about that. Yeah. It's more that they don't normally do this choice.
They did right by Sam. They could have gone by the comics and chosen Bucky, and they made the right choice and picked Sam.
Right.
So I know that the comics is in the comics it is Shuri, but I'm just saying they can make the right choice and the easy choice. She's right there. She's the same person.
Right.
She's also part of the royal family, so like.
Yeah, it literally I don't know how they would try to plot magic their way around anyone else.
Like unless they brought in like another character, like a new character from another tribe.
So this is why they shouldn't have killed Killmonger.
That would have been really interesting though if they hadn't killed him and he was still around for like this after Succession piece.
Yeah.
And if they could have had him make the choice to not challenge Shuri and work with her instead, I think that would have been a really interesting character piece.
Yeah. And I wonder if like now they're thinking like if they're like second guessing. I mean, obviously you can't undead somebody.
Well, it is Marvel. It is Marvel.
All I'm gonna say is Loki.
Fair.
As Black Panther? Oh wait, no.
No!
Dead. Okay.
No.
Imagine it.
No, I'm talking about coming back to life over and over and over and over.
My brain went. I was like, Brie, I don't think you understand the movie if that's what you think is gonna happen.
No.
That's just me being dumb.
There could be a Wakandan Loki variant.
You know, that'd be real interesting.
He's a good Star-Lord. I mean, like, T'Challa Star-Lord, Loki can be Black Panther. They can just rotate. Jokes, it's going to be Sam. Wakanda calls up Sam, and they're like, hey, so...
I know you're Captain America, but do you also want to be Black Panther?
Do you want to quit on America and be Captain Wakanda? And he's
Did you know that you are secretly Wakandan?
Captain Black Panther.
Okay, that would be kind of cool, though, if they, like, went back in Sam's ancestry. They're like, you're Wakandan! He's like... That'd be cool. Wouldn't you want to find out you're Wakandan?
T'Challa's family. He would just have to be from one of the royal families.
And then Bucky could go with him.
Yeah, Bucky already has a farm there.
He already loves Wakanda.
Oh, see, okay, but I
See,
still want
that-
Shuri to be Black
That
Panther.
would be the wrong choice. If
That
it was-
was, yeah, we're designing what Marvel could do wrong, and the easiest option is the best option.
right. Okay. Anything else to say about Black Panther?
Yeah. So like I know we already talked about the how beautiful it is cinematically, but like I don't know if like from a indigenous aspect of like the tribal things and the regalia and the makeup and things like that, I don't think that a lot of people understand just like how much that like means in like that, just like that scene just got me all messed up, and like seeing like all of the elders and all of the people and like how they were all surrounding him and cheering him on to be like, you know, the next Black Panther, and like seeing that scene just like really, because like we haven't been able to go to any powwows this whole entire year or so because of the COVID crisis, and so like I have not seen that like side of community in such a long time, and so like seeing it in a movie during like the recovery process and during like there are some powwows now, but like being able to see that from like an indigenous aspect was just like, it just like gave me all the feels. And like my favorite part was when he was fighting and he says, yield, your people need you, and that just like it got me all messed up.
So
like
good.
that scene was so notable in my head. Like every time I see it, I even cried. I cried in the movie theater when I first saw it, and then I cried when I saw it again, like not too long ago. It was a good time.
Michelle, I want to go to Ghana with you one day because that's what the whole country is like. Not the
I'd
whole
probably
country,
be
like,
crying.
They're like majority indigenous, so it's just like their government is run by their like indigenous people. So it's just, I think, yeah, it's. Because I totally get what you're saying. Like, obviously not from obviously I can't know what that's like, but like the image you're saying, I feel like I've seen that in, there. I'm glad that was able to give you that, and I love that we can now have an example of African indigenous people in popular culture too, because they are very underlooked.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
I
just
think
like
this was a good like. What am I trying to say? This movie was not made for white people.
no.
It kind of was actually with
It was
what
to
happened
wipe
with-
the fact that colonization has fucked us up.
Well,
right
yeah,
in your
I mean,
face.
like as far as the honoring like the cultures and like that scene specifically, like it because it didn't try to like white splain.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I mean by that.
But
You're
then
right.
again,
Yeah, they didn't be like,
not-
this
not every
our
scene-
symbolic makeup. Like, yeah.
Right. Just like when we talk about books that are written like by Latinx authors or any like indigenous authors or Black authors, like we always talk about how it's done really well when they don't try to white splain something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I would definitely say that the ending with Killmonger,
Yeah.
like how it, other than his last line was definitely like potent and powerful and like him.
Right.
But I think from the moment he kills his girlfriend onwards, that was to sanitize it for white people. So T'Challa could be the nice moderate activist that's comfortable for.
They very much, I think, kept the narrative that was okay within the kind of almost, I don't know if respectability politics is the correct, but like almost within that vein of like there is a.
What they couldn't have is parents taking, because no matter what was going to happen, comic book fans and kids and stuff were going to like it, right?
Right.
They couldn't have white parents taking it and being like, oh my God, my kids are going to get radicalized.
Yeah.
And that's what's
That would be
unfortunate about it, because I think in an ending where T'Challa, Killmonger, and everyone ends up working together, that's too powerful. That's too powerful for them to show on screen. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. What was I gonna say? But yeah, no, like the ideology they kept very much within the what white people are acceptable, but like the audience in mind was not the average white viewer.
Right.
If that makes sense. Because like I remember somebody pointed out, somebody I was on a live show with pointed out, he's like, I don't like as a white man, I didn't understand so much, and like they didn't explain this, and they didn't, and he was explaining specifically like
Explain
stuff
what?
that we already know in the common, like if you are paying attention to anything in the media about how stereotyping works and police brutality and all of that, like stuff that we didn't need to have, like that was, and I wasn't able to articulate it at the time, but I was like, well, you're not the audience. A 9-year-old Black kid is the audience, not you. They didn't need to cater that to you, because what you are asking for is stuff that has traumatized this community, and they see time and time and time again in the news. They didn't need to see it in a movie they were going to for fun.
Well, and also, isn't the most boring part of Doctor Strange when she's explaining the fucking lore?
Mm-hmm.
That's the most boring part. They didn't need to explain the lore. Just show it. Just show us.
Show it to me. Don't tell me.
Right.
Yes.
I don't need Tilda Swinton explaining magic to me. I'd rather watch the ceremonies between M'Baku and T'Challa, and
It was so good.
yeah, I'd rather watch
It
that.
made me
And
feel so many feels.
The
To me,
audience
it's like
was
if you
made.
explain it, then it takes you out of the story. It
Then
takes
you
you
feel
out
like
of the
you're-
experience.
It's the
So-
whole
Also, like all of this aside, Angela Bassett deserved to win something for that. For being Black Panther's mom, of all of stuff that she's been in, Angela Bassett absolutely kills
Yes.
as
Love her.
T'Challa's mom.
They-
Like
I'm
I
not
just
ready for
I
her
love
at
her
the funeral
so
scene.
much.
In the
Great
next
mom
movie.
vibes.
The
I love
casting
her
of this
so,
was amazing.
so much.
They did such a good
Like
job.
Angela
casting.
Bassett deserves so much
Mhm.
more than she's given.
Well, I mean,
Can
isn't
she
that
be
every
my
black,
mom? That'd be great.
black woman
And
in Hollywood?
think about her in the next movie. Think about how much this can hurt.
That's gonna be.
That's going to be the most brutal. You know, this will bring 110% acting skills.
I will be ready to cry.
Oh,
Oh.
yeah, no. Well, and
Hold on,
you know that's how they're gonna open the whole thing. Like with his funeral will be like the opening scene.
I could see it not being the open scene. I could see it being like skipped like 8 months later or something like that.
No, they're gonna do a funeral because
I fucking
like.
You
knowing-
don't have to open it with the funeral though. There are ways like that there's one of those things that like it depends on how they want to structure the movie, because it could be a like what happened to T'Challa for the entire movie. Like kind of thing. Like we know he's gone, but we don't entirely know all of it, and it's like the funeral.
kind of like what they're doing with Steve, where it's like he's dead.
Yeah, right? Or on the moon.
We're on the moon.
It's fine. Either way.
Yeah. The other thing is that in the comics, when Shuri becomes Black Panther, T'Challa's in a coma. So they could have it like some kind of like he's ill, he's not, and then he dies midway through. It could be, yeah. I hope they don't. It really fucked with me when they killed Carrie Fisher on screen in the last Star Wars. Actually dead in real life, so I really like it. Hurts it if the actor's alive in real life. I'm like, I can watch you die, but if the actor's dead, I'm like, please don't watch me more painful.
Yeah, I'd already done all of my grieving when she died on my birthday. God damn it!
That's one of the hardest celebrity deaths ever. Carrie Fisher, Chadwick Boseman. We're just gonna put them up there,
and Robin Williams.
Yeah, honestly,
certain
like,
people.
For me, I take death really seriously sometimes, and so like it's really hard to watch certain movies, and I'm like, oh yeah, this person's dead. Oh no.
Yeah, I'd rather them linger. Like, you know how they did with Iron Man in Spider-Man, which again, not actually that sad because Robert Downey Jr. is alive and well. But like, you know how they kind of like lingered on like the portrait of Iron Man in Spider-Man 2, and they were like, oh, it do be sad.
I am convinced. Like if I were a betting person, I would say that if they're not going to open with the funeral, it's going to be one of the first few scenes.
Oh my god! But the thing is, like, I will shit my pants. I'll cry.
I know, but that's the thing. It's very emotional and very impactful, and you know,
crying, shitting your pants.
But like, this is the last Black Panther movie started with his dad being dead. This is gonna start with him being dead. Like, please, Shuri, please, God.
Like it's yeah. Bring a box of tissues and a service dog to that movie.
Yeah, Brianna and I have them if you need to borrow them.
I was gonna say, can I borrow yours?
You can. You might be better off with Doyle, but you can.
She won't be a service dog, but I'll have my own dog hopefully by that point. I think.
Okay, don't bring her to the theater. Don't be that
I won't
person.
bring her to the theater. I won't be that person that brings my Chihuahua into Publix, even if he is well trained and doesn't bark at anyone. Like my thing is like,
oh, you mean you won't put your husky puppy in a grocery cart?
Where they belong, because huskies notoriously can't. They don't have a lot of stamina. They can't go for very long.
Was well trained, I would have no problem bringing them in a grocery store. But I didn't train my dog to be able to go into grocery stores because I knew I couldn't bring her in a grocery store. So I don't think anyone with a small dog should be able to do it either.
But I think.
But anyway.
I think people also underestimate how overwhelming that is for a dog because you can't smell the things they can smell.
Yeah.
They can smell every ingredient. Like, think about how overwhelming a grocery store would be for a dog that's never been trained to do that.
Oh, goodness, sorry.
Anything else about Black Panther before we move on?
One thing. I just have to say that, again, I love the movie.
Really funny. I love it.
I love almost everything about the movie. Rhinos are not domesticable. Not even in Wakanda. It's not possible. It took me right out of the movie when that happened. I was like, absolutely not. This did not happen. It did not stop when she told it to stop. It ran right through her because they don't give a shit about humanity. I've done animal history. I've seen the movie 300, which has also attempted this. Rhinos are not domesticable, but elephants are very domesticable. Because they're smart, and rhinos are just big spooky cows. So like, listen, I get it. They're beautiful. I think they're gorgeous and really cool looking.
But
and I love
they're blind.
Preserving them.
They are legally blind. They could not drive a car.
These battle rhinos, there's so many animals that could have been used. This was not the choice. The Canadian house hippo is more realistic than the battle rhinos.
Yeah. No, an African elephant would have been like
a way better choice. Yeah. Or just like they have a lot of different kinds of cattle too that you could have made super cool. Ostriches, I don't know, something that's not a fucking rhino.
Can we know?
So fun.
Can we appreciate for Wakanda without question?
Oh my God, that's her.
Yes.
Did Marvel know how powerful she'd be? Did she know that, like, they're like, let's make this movie about Chadwick Boseman.
One of the best lines.
It's Denai Guerrera. They already knew that that was the kind of character she could play.
Yeah.
They just let her do it while also being able to take a bath.
Like no zombies involved. But like they really said, like, release all your sexual energy onto the world, and like all the queer girls will fall apart.
The best lines in this movie were not given by T'Challa. They were, "We're vegetarians," and for
But he did a good amount of the movie. He's in his little Steve popsicle thing, and I think that movie is about Black women to me.
Oh, like yes, they
and yeah, and I mean, like, Chadwick Boseman was one of like the most talented, incredible actors, like for sure one of the best casting choices they ever made in but like T'Challa himself is not the most interesting character,
right?
Compared
to Shuri, Okoye, Nakia,
and
the trifecta.
Because if you read the comics, there is some depth to him in the comics,
and there is in the movies too. I still think he's the best part of Civil War.
I don't think that, like, here's the thing. His arc was not done. He wasn't like, they weren't planning.
I know.
On T'Challa dying in the next Black Panther movie, because Chadwick Boseman was what, 40 something?
Not even.
And they didn't know he was sick.
Right. He never disclosed that.
So but I just need wills that tell the production companies how they want their death handled if they die while they're in the middle of a project.
But T'Challa also has a very classic, like, fantasy hero arc I think, first of all, I think his arc in Civil War is the only good part of the movie, like, brilliant in Civil War, like, forgiving and like taking the gun, shivers. But like in Black Panther, it's a very classic hero arc that we've seen before. So I think when you put him beside Okoye and Shuri and Nakia, who those kinds of characters, like Black women who have that much depth, that can be like funny and smart and like all this, like that's so often you wouldn't get three of them in the same big Hollywood motion picture. So I think that, like,
and if they were, it's probably some sort of slavery torture porn,
right? Because Hollywood's terrible. So I think that because T'Challa's arc is like something that we've seen before, because it's a superhero movie and we've seen all these arcs before, that Okoye and Nakia and Shuri end up being more interesting. Right. Which is like just not a bad thing. I just think Okoye is the most interesting character.
Speaking of Shuri,
I just think he used that same argument, maybe not to the same extent, for a movie like Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi is a great character, but he's a typical fantasy hero.
And his sister is like mesmerizing.
Right, and so is Katie.
Yeah, but I think that if you had made Xiling the main character, it would have been like a very like YA girl takes over the patriarchal
absolutely
role.
Yeah.
So I think having them as a sibling set made them both more interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Can we also appreciate Shuri for being like not choosing, not just to like she wasn't just dragging him for wearing weird shoes. She was also like, "Hey, dude, basic lab safety. Why are you in a lab with your clothes out?
Closed-toed shoes, buddy?" Okay.
Did you not read the syllabus?
She's literally the best younger sibling in any movie ever. She's just like, "Yeah, hit that thing. Like, nothing bad will happen to you."
For research.
She's literally, I feel like she must be like a Gemini gremlin too, you know, where she's just like, "Yeah, do that thing."
Yeah.
She is the probably the reason that T'Challa did not lose his mind, having all of that pressure, because he had this younger sibling who just like was like, "Let's go do something young and dumb."
Also like all the stressful schematics and planning, like, don't you worry, I will handle that. Like,
right. Even though she's
the best. She's got to be one of the best characters in the entire Marvel universe.
Yeah,
for sure.
And like, she will make an amazing Black Panther.
Yeah, she will. And just like freaking even her line in the What If episode 2, we're like, "Yep, he's smart, but like,"
yeah.
Like, I just love Shuri.
Do we have any housekeeping before we? Oh, we had a boss battle. We did have a boss battle for this movie.
It was good. I read Tweet Cute.
That is a cute book.
I read books.
Although I'm disappointed, Christine, that in your wrap up you couldn't remember their names because it's literally Pepperjack.
You can't give me a name like Jack and expect it to come back right away.
But it's Pepperjack, and they had grilled cheese.
Okay, well, I got her and I was like, Pepper Potts. High achieving Pepper.
My own name, and I would still manage to forget it during the wrap up.
Yeah, but it's
I forgot the other guy's name
those
too.
are the only names I've ever remembered a year and a half later. The Talia, I completely forget everything about Evan's character too. I'm just like, he was a guy. It's true.
He was there.
He was a dude. Anyways,
wait, who?
Oh, just
He's
in the
talking
book.
about one of the other
the
Talia
books he was reading over the weekend.
Not Marvel.
I actually kind of forgot that we were doing. I knew we were doing this. I just forgot when it was. And I had specifically planned a weekend of reading graphic novels. And so I was like, well, this works out perfectly. So that was great. I read Nimona.
Nice.
Did you love it or what?
I gave it 4 stars.
So good.
I love it so much.
My you will absolutely die when I on my vlog of it, Christine.
I just think Noelle Stevenson, who also wrote She-Ra, the new She-Ra adaptation, I just think that they are like the best at friends to enemies to lovers, and I think that's the only arc I ever want fantasy queer characters to go through.
Oh no, the first sentence is, Christine, did you just want me to read this because he has a metal arm?
Dude, I may or may not have thought of you immediately when I first opened it.
Okay, he's like a dark, brooding character that has a metal arm, and he ends up with the golden boy that he was first friends with, but then fought. My favorite part of that whole book is that they're just fighting because they want to see each other. They're just like, yeah, wait, we're not going to fight? But we scheduled a fight.
Does that work? Because I can find a nemesis if that works. Just find me someone who's in like the book. I will go fight him.
But it's literally so gay though. They're like, yes, I will destroy you. Like,
anyways, that was a fun weekend readathon. Well, it was actually kind of moved it into the week.
Yeah, I had intentions, and I was doing really good up until the end.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got lazy. I literally only had an hour left in my 3 hours, and then to finish the book, and I was reading Across the Green Grass Fields. But then I started playing a game on my phone.
Story of my life.
And
I think you guys know how much I play video games.
I still haven't finished Across the Green Grass Fields.
Honestly, it's the worst.
Now Friday.
It's the worst one of that book is 112 pages. That's it. And it is the worst one of the whole series.
Okay, that's how you know when 112 pages is hard to get. When it's the same length as like a university course reading, and it's that hard to get through. Well, that's when you know.
I read it in one night, but I was so bored.
Yeah, I'm not disliking it entirely. I just think that it doesn't fit with the series well at all.
Yeah.
Like, I understand that she wanted to do this world, but like, honestly, as an MLP fan, like, I don't even jive with it.
Yeah, it was
like,
weird.
It's not even like, it's like, it's not giving me any of those vibes, so it kind of defeats the purpose of her having done it.
Supposed to be like, oh, this is the first like intersex character, and then I feel like they did a disservice.
So, sorry, a what rep character?
It was an intersex.
You know what? That's too bad because that's a rep I'd like to read more of.
And that's that's the thing. Like, there's shit. Like, it was just.
And that part of it was well done, but because of the way that it was after,
right.
The beginning part of that was well done, and
then they just kind of forgot about it.
It hasn't come up again, and you know, I feel like it probably isn't going to be very significant.
Yeah.
Throughout the end.
It's disappointing.
But yeah, like for me, I understand, like, as you know, she's an MLP fan. I'm an MLP fan. So I can understand, you know, she wanted to write a world that My Little Pony.
I thought you said MLB.
I was like Major League Baseball.
Okay, across the green grass field. Okay, baseball.
Yeah, that's like where I was at.
When you said MLP, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, My Little Pony.
Yeah. But like,
I
I
was
used to
expecting that as a child.
do something that like was reminiscent of that in her own way, but it really wasn't. It didn't do any of the things that, or so far it hasn't really done any of the things other than have the horse-esque-ness, and that part isn't the part that I like or care about.
Horse-esque-ness? Yeah.
Anyways,
is the villain of Brony?
I would like to stay monetized.
That would be hilarious.
It'd be like that episode of Bob's Burgers.
Anyway, I don't even remember who the villain of that book was.
But like, it doesn't feel like that at all in any other way. So it doesn't make sense to me why it, you know, was a big thing that she wanted to do.
Because Applejack behind the stable with a wrench.
Okay, so that was our boss battle. Next month's boss battles will be great and fantastic, and we're brainstorming, and you should be prepared.
I actually came up with a really good idea.
We're brainstorming. What were we brainstorming?
I just had an idea today of how we could do.
We should talk about it off screen.
Yeah, one of the movies that we're watching is an interesting movie, and the other one is also interesting. One of the movies that we're watching is an interesting movie.
No, they both are, right?
Ant-Man and the Wasp?
No, that's not next.
Man.
It's Ragnarok.
But doesn't Ragnarok happen like seconds before Infinity War?
No. Well, yes. Ant-Man and the Wasp happens between
Ragnarok is next.
Wait,
it'll be that one.
We talk about Nick Fury's Week from Hell, but what about Ant-Man and Thor's 30 Seconds from Hell? Like, oh my God. Okay. So it's so both of them are very interesting.
Yes.
Okay. Let's talk about some housekeeping. That's a good segue. Before we talk about the book. So Anne-Marie.
We have no idea what we're doing, Anne-Marie. We're just winging it.
That's not true. I had Brianna and I.
We pretend like we know what we're doing.
That's pretty much how we run this whole thing.
Don't let
We drop these completely vague hints, and then later in our meeting, we're like, "Hey, so we talked about this, so now let's build on it."
Yeah, like the vague hints are actually pretty much all we have planned so far.
That is the brainstorm.
Yeah, that's it so far.
Or the weird stuff that people will be like, oh, I hope they don't do this, and we'll be like,
oh yeah,
okay,
they did.
All these things that you're talking about in the chat, like
we're taking notes.
Like, I personally, I don't know what the other hosts do, but I personally have a folder in my phone of screenshots of things that people have said.
Oh, see, I just screenshot stuff that I think would be a good idea and go like, hey guys, in a couple of months, we should do this.
I just have moments of like profound existential crisis when Hello Cutie is like, you're gonna get this board next month, right? And I'm like, did I leak that? Did I tell her? Because she's never wrong.
I know, right?
She's never been
wrong. Except for Pietro, she thought was gonna be a whole board.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's still like she was mostly right.
She was mostly right. Okay.
Which gives you a hint as to who is next month. Scroll up through that chat.
Scroll up through the chat. Okay, so we did release for October. We released.
Didn't we already release next month?
Huh?
Oh, it's October.
It is October now. So you can start them today unless you used your power and you already started them. I
These Valentine's Lights.
Huh? Right. We released Elena, Sushi, and Pepper Potts. For those of you that were curious, Pepper Potts would have been the board instead of Sharon.
Yeah.
If Iron Man would have won.
So if you were like a real Iron Man fan, then that was your reward.
Congratulations, you got it.
I'd say that for a while, like Pepper was like the more corporate one, and Sharon was the more fighty one. But they seem to have like swapped like abilities, so kind of interesting.
Very interesting. So Pepper has like a fantastic bonus or a reward or power, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's
superpower.
Superpower. There we go.
Superpower. Superpower mission logs.
I just love our shade, like a character who has to work with someone difficult.
Yes. That board was fun to make.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Tony would admit that about Pepper. He wouldn't admit it for anyone else, but he'd like, yeah, Pepper has to put up with a lot.
Like literally everything.
We're reading These Violent Delights. Which for those of you that are doing NetGalley November, you may want to go and
that's right, we're reading this.
These Violent Ends. Because
I need to tell you the story.
Is it on NetGalley?
It is.
Yes.
But no, because I was looking at page numbers when I was doing my TBR to figure out like how many pages a day I had to read and all that stuff. And I was like trying to be really careful of like not reading the last page. But the last page of These Violent Delights ends in very big letters, to be continued. So I know it's a cliffhanger.
Nice.
Just saying.
Well, story time. I was on NetGalley requesting way too many books. Although I've so far I've been denied for 5 out of 7 and only gotten 2 that have been come back. Anyways, and I saw our whatever the second book is. I was like, oh, but then I have to read the first book before NetGalley November so I could read this.
Oh my Lord. Margaret,
I know you don't drink coffee, but now might be the time to start.
I mean, I can't be held accountable for what my brain thinks up after 8 p.m. because that's when it stops.
Fair enough.
All of my brain is used by 5 p.m. if it lasts that long.
Fair enough.
NetGalley won't load on my computer. It's like you don't have internet, but I'm talking to you guys.
Weird. So we'll be watching Black Widow, and Thor Ragnarok. Now we lost Christine. But anyways, yes, we'll be watching Black Widow because it is available now on Disney Plus. So it's not you don't need to pay for it. She's back. Hello.
The item for the special mission is going to be the Power Stone.
Which one is that? Purple?
Purple.
Okay. There we go. And we'll put graphics up for that. So that means the movies tentatively we'll make an announcement for it, but tentatively we'll start next weekend, and then every other weekend.
Canadian Thanksgiving.
Nobody cares.
I know. I mean, you're right because I don't care about Thanksgiving as a concept, but I do care about the fact that I get a long weekend.
Fair enough.
Right here, Christine. Happy early Canadian Thanksgiving.
Please don't wish
no thanks to the colonization, but
I was gonna say, does it have the same connotation that American Thanksgiving has?
Happy, you get a long weekend.
Okay. Ours is not as like blatantly like, and then we colonized and murdered everyone. Like ours is a bit more like we like pumpkin pie.
Yeah, but
you're not
like a good long while, and then we're like residential schools.
Exactly. So Canada really is not any better at all.
I'm regretting this coming Thanksgiving because I'm pretty sure that we didn't do in-person Thanksgiving last year, and I'm pretty sure that we'll be back to in-person Thanksgiving. And I'm just like, what's a good way for me to bow out?
So my dad and I, my dad hates Thanksgiving dinners because my dad and I are similar in that we're like, we don't really want to go to a dinner party and eat fancy food. We want to go sit at home and watch movies. So we were gonna go spend the weekend with him, but now with my grandma, I'm gonna go visit her instead. So
that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That makes sense. Okay, so I think that's all of the housekeeping stuff. So let's talk about things we've seen. There we go.
So okay, one second. I'm just gonna be like preparing myself for Margaret to be wrong. Okay.
Okay, so let's talk non-spoilery initial thoughts. What were your feelings about the books? What did you think about it? Okay, we know that Bree loves this. This was Bree's pick.
Just like for me, and the reread, I have to say, for me, as it was a reread, I enjoyed it even more because I was able to, like, the things that I didn't pick up on in the storyline, like the things that I didn't pick up the first time, I was able to like notice more details within Catching's story, and that for me was enjoyable because it was like I was able to like, you know,
right, you understand what it's meant to be now.
Yeah, I was able to see through the nonsense,
yeah,
and like understand it, and that was really enjoyable.
That makes sense.
See, Margaret, you're like giving those little faces, but I'm just like ready
just
to
like I saw through the nonsense from the beginning. Like the first time I maybe, but like
than the book.
But like we got to the second one and I started to recognize stuff, and I was like, oh, I understand what's happening here, which I actually really liked that aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was a pretty decent book. There are like certain things at the base level that I don't think were done as well as they could have been done, but I really liked what they were trying to do, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So I didn't rate it. I don't think that, like, because I think like objectively it's like a middle of the road book. I love the story of it, and like the parts that were in verse, I think were like so well done. But I think it like the writing felt a little clunky, and I think for like assuming because it was written.
What?
Because it was written by two authors.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was such a disjoint between the part that was in verse and then the story, and like you were on such like a high as far as like the writing style and like just the atmosphere of it, and then when you come back down to the present story, it wasn't on the same level for me.
That's what dissociating feels like.
This is true.
I get that entirely. For me, it doesn't bother me. I think because
it didn't bother me at all.
I don't think it bothered me because it's two different
narrators. I think that worked really well.
Because we're going between the two different narrators, and also because like we're following, you know, a character who understands what's, you know, and then the character who's trying to understand it and doesn't understand what this person is actually saying. And so it's like you understand some parts of it and then you're confused as to what other details were supposed to mean, and you know, so you're kind of in between the two of them. At least for my reading.
I also didn't
like, so for me
that makes sense.
I also didn't interpret the other part as verse. I interpreted it as like the best way to convey oral storytelling, the best written way to convey oral storytelling. Right. So for me, I tried to imagine it like in her voice and
almost like spoken word.
Yeah, more than like
because
that's what I think. I think it's supposed to, like, I don't think
that
it's supposed to be better, because I think what it's saying is that the prose can't tell you everything.
Yeah. And that like saying things plainly can't tell you everything, because if like you look at it, she's going about things in a very roundabout way. Mm-hmm. When you think about trauma, like that that was the best way that she could get that story out, kind of is how I interpret it, was to put it in this kind of fantastical setting.
Mm-hmm.
But it is like that would fit into traditions of storytelling, like oral storytelling, that
and if you go in and you look at the author's note, you can kind of see a lot of what they were wanting to convey was that tradition. within their culture. And so that I definitely see that as well. But I feel like also the way that she chose to convey it, or the fact that she chose to convey it in that way, plays into that, you know, the way that she conveyed it, you are focused more on what she felt and what she experienced. So the title, The Things She's Seen, it's really about, you know, the feelings and emotional trauma that went with what happened to her, not so much the actual things, but like the things inside that she has seen, not outside.
Well, and I think
so I feel like that.
Well, that's what I think that part, like that part of the story
that was my favorite part.
Better part.
Yeah.
The mystery part and the part where she was, you know, working with her father, like that part I didn't care as much about, and I wanted to get to the next portion of the story.
I can understand that.
I thought it was really interesting because I think that the prose was limited on purpose, because the prose is just Beth's view. Like, it's limited to her own experience, whereas I think Catching's story isn't just her story. Like, it's really important for her to go over her like female lineage. And I think when we talk about the things she's seen, I don't think it's a singular she. I think it like she's talking about like her whole, like this whole line of women who've been through this. And I think that's why that might flow better. And it might sound like that part, it sounds more mature because it's like a story weaved from generations. Whereas that was effectively cut off for Beth. She doesn't have access to that. So
see, I didn't think that either of them were particularly I guess mature. I mean, I think it definitely had more mature elements to it when we're talking about like what's happening to her. But like, so my experience with this book is, I think going into it, we knew certain things about the characters that meant I was never going to be truly emotionally attached to them. Just because that I already like that kind of thing. I already distanced myself from the fact, like, we know one of the characters is dead. And I'm just like, oh, well, I'm not going to get too invested in her because it's just going to hurt because she's going to be dead at the end. But like going into it, she felt, I don't know if anybody else, she felt very naive to me for 15 and a half. Like, I thought she was like 12 or 13.
I do agree with that. I do
know why it matters.
It matters.
What's the difference in the story if she's 12 or if she's 17?
Because if you're going to say she's 15 and a half, I'm going to expect her to have more of the attitude of a 15-year or someone who's almost 16 versus someone who sounds very, very childlike. Like I thought I was reading a middle grade at one point. Like, I've read younger YA. I've read a lot of it. And so for me, like that pulled me out of the story a little bit because I was like, this doesn't like.
I wonder if that has to do more with like the way that she was brought up, more so than the character was just written to the age. Because the thing is, like, if you think about like only children that have a single parent, specifically a father, they tend to kind of be more naive then.
And that was her whole character journey too, because it was said like she was always so happy and so like very full of like, what did they say, like butterfly or whatever, like, and that she didn't, like, she chose not to look at dark things, and she kind of had to embrace that in order to. So I don't know, because it's like, to me like I saw her age a bit more when she's like helping her dad with like the crime stuff. It's like, okay, like a young kid wouldn't really probably pick up on that as much, but like otherwise I don't think it matters if she's 8 or if she's 20. Like,
it doesn't matter, but I do expect like the age that I feel the character is to be consistent with the age that you were telling me they are. And like there were things that the dad would say too that I was like, this feels a little bit like a teenager would say, not necessarily a grown. Like I've never heard a grown adult man say not a parent. So
I think it's more the affect of the accent, because when I think about like Scottish adults, they say a lot, and it's probably more like that. But yeah, I get what you're saying. It's
so
a bit
like I really liked what they were trying, like what they tried to do. I think that there were places where it fell short for me, so it wasn't like something that I loved, but it wasn't like it's a book I would recommend because I can see why people like it, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Although I am disappointed that I did not cry at the end.
I did.
I knew I wasn't. I mean, I don't cry, so.
I mean, I don't either. But like Christine was like, I cried like a baby, and I was like,
Of
maybe
course I did, though.
Well, I was like
mad.
here, and I was just like so disconnected from it. I think
it was a book about history, and there was a death thing. That's I was gonna cry. It was like, hello tropes.
fair.
I was gonna cry. That unlocked all my things.
That's true.
But
that's true.
And that's sad. I think that one of the most heart-wrenching scenes in that whole thing is him being like, if there is a better place, like, you have to go.
Yeah.
That was a good scene.
Yeah, right? Like, you do not stay here for me. I'll be okay.
I loved the dad because I think that he, like, you could really tell the connection between the dad and her, and that, like, he was by the end, he was kind of like aware that he was kind of feeling selfish about wanting her to be with him, but then like with that line of like, you need to go.
Well, like you could see the parent kick in when he realized that his child was doing something that like he didn't think was in her best interests because she was trying to protect him. Like you saw the dad kick in.
He realized when she said that, and he was like, wait, there's another option. Like, you're not stuck here right now.
Yeah, he's like, please go. Yeah. And when he calls the sister, I think to that memory of the aunt like, pounding on the door and then him calling her at the end, I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
When she's the aunt's just like, don't you think I wish it was me instead? I was like, oh no.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh boy.
I feel like that kind of stuff like was really, it wasn't like they didn't dwell on it so much that she like, we were like in it. It was just enough to where it was like it hit you. So because of the length, it
was like a little sting. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that this would have been like a 400-page book. I think it would have felt like it dragged.
It was a very good length.
Yeah, I didn't want it to be 400. I did want a little bit more of like the creepy fact. If it was going to be a ghost story, I wanted a little more of the creepy factor to be built in.
There were times where I was like, this book would have been fine if she wouldn't have been a ghost.
Yeah, like we didn't focus enough on the mystery or the ghost story for me to feel like we were kind of halfway between the two.
But I think that was it kind of plays into the fact that it was more of like a story to be told orally, where they never really go into details about certain things like that. I think it played into that more so than like a novel.
Yeah.
I really don't think it was meant to be a ghost story. I think they're meant to be more like just the energy of them after they're dead. I don't think it's meant to be spooky. I think the entire murder mystery part is like about colonial abuse.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think it's I never read it as a ghost story. I read her being dead as just like a way to tell that story, like a way for her to be able to like see. Yeah, not really like ghosts. Like that's I don't know. To me, yes, I think you could have told the story with her being alive, but then she might have had to die at the end for it to like accomplish the same thing. So like, I'm kind of happy she's alive.
I would have been okay if she hadn't died at the end. I don't think that it would have impacted the story to all that much.
Well, I think the point was that the point was moving from the world she was stuck in.
Yeah, and I think part of it is that because there is a part of this story in Beth's portion of the story, it's really about grief and loss is really what that section of the story is about. And it doesn't dive into it as deep. I don't think because of the length, it's not like as deep of a dive into it. So it's easy to like, not think about it that way. But like, if you read it at the right time, it would be more.
That's
like I said, that's
in that regard. But like,
you got to have that emotional connection, which is one that I'm not like for a book like this. It's not going to have that connection for me. Like I fully understand why it didn't hit me as hard as it hit you or Christine.
Yeah,
I think also like the point is that she's choosing to keep herself in a world that is literally not meant for her, for him. Because she loves him, because he was a good father, but that world is meant for him, not her. And I think there's like a larger metaphor in there that's not really about death and life, but really about spaces and like space in the colonial and like figurative setting. And that's more what I took from that.
I think this book did something in the fact that like based on when you read it and based on who you are and your experiences, you're gonna pull something different out of it, which is a really powerful thing for a 200-page book to do.
Yeah,
it's a whopper of 200 pages.
Yeah.
And that's one thing for me, like, that's so, like, why I love it so much is, like, you know, in Catching's sections, like, there are some parts that speak so clearly, not just to, you know, one kind of experience. Like, they can be what, you know, what you've experienced, what you've gone through, you know, like, a lot of those sections, I believe it was maybe the second section especially, is very much like speaking directly to mental health and things that, you know, can apply no matter what your situation is. And that's, I think, part of why I loved the storytelling method that was used so much, is because of the, you know, the whimsy of it. And it's like you hear what you need to hear from it in a way. And like that's part of what I really enjoyed, especially of those sections, because it's like it's so, and it probably would be different, you know, if you read it at a different time, you would be able to, you know.
Yeah, I think that if I read it 2 years from now, I would probably get something different.
Right.
I don't know if I don't know if I agree with that for myself, because I think I read it in a very academic way. Like,
yeah, I get that.
I was like, what are they saying about being an Indigenous woman in Australia?
Right.
And like, the legacy.
Well, and that's because that's your experience and that's your history.
And like, I was going in for like the mystery thriller element.
But that's literally not what it's about, though.
But that's what it's marketed as, is as a mystery thriller. Like,
is it marketed that way, or is it like literally the thing they're saying about it is they want to write Indigenous stories?
That's in the author's note, though, not here. That's in the author's note. If you like, that's something that you don't know until you've gotten through the book.
But I think that's like, that might just be a case of like being incorrectly marketed.
Yeah, I don't know if that's necessarily anything they did wrong. Like, it's not their decision how somebody markets it.
Yeah.
They wrote, I'm just like, it starts out with a murder. They're writing a mystery. They're trying to figure out what's going on.
Because it's about hundreds of years of dead women.
Oof.
But it's not like a murder mystery, like who done it, like Sherlock Holmes coming to figure it out. It's like, there's no figuring it out. We know who did it. It's white men and white women doing it over and over and over and over again. It's not about who did it. It's about how do these women heal, not only in this life, but in the next. How do they get out of it?
See, that's not at all what I got from it. Like, that was like, like for me, it was more the like how systemic abuses and how the ignoring of women of color when they go missing, how that leads to these women going missing, leads to these women being murdered. Like, it was more about like the way society overlooks people if they don't fit a certain demographic when they go missing.
Then I can see how this would be disjointed, because then it's like two stories in one. There's like the fantastical aspect and then the realistic aspect. Right. But I don't think it's trying to, I think it's using allegory to explain colonial and non-colonial spaces and like a spiritualism that has been like literally stripped. And how do you re-access that? And I think if we like broke it down academically, like word for word, symbol for symbol, that is what it's about. And like, to me, that's like literally how I read it. And a lot of what I got from like what they said about it.
You could get the other thing out of it too.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's just like what you hone in on in that book and in this story. And I think that that's powerful.
I guess so. Yeah. I just think that reading this for entertainment above. Like,
that's what I read fiction for, though.
Right. But then I think you're doing it a bit of a disservice, because it's meant to make you uncomfortable. It's meant to make like, if you're like, well, I'm not going to enjoy this because of this. Well, then like, okay, like it's really not written.
I never said that. I said that there are certain emotional aspects that I'm not going to connect to because it's about a dead character. But like, I'm like that with all of my fiction. So
Well, and Christine, I think you come from a different space because like you read a lot of things academically, and your education is in colonialism.
Yeah.
And so you have like those glasses when you go into a piece of fiction. And so like, not saying that that's a bad thing. That's what you pulled out of the story.
Yeah, but I'm if you don't look for that, then you're missing 70% of the point. Like I just think that that's why I didn't rate it, because it's like, who gives a fuck what I think about one sentence structure or one this or that? Like, that's not what, like, to me, like, I don't rate a lot of the things like this that I read, because it just doesn't seem appropriate, but also because it's like, it's really not about how much I liked or disliked it. It's about like, it's like literature as resistance and literature as healing, and not as entertainment or media in that way.
I totally see where Christine is coming from.
Yeah, I see both. I totally see both. Because like I can understand, like, especially because like when I bought this book, I bought it because of the cover. Not even lying. I literally bought this book because of the cover.
I love cover
it had a butterfly on it, and my grandmother was just obsessed with butterflies. So I looked at the cover and I was like, "Ooh, it's a butterfly." And then I read the back of it and I was like, sounds kind of weird. Sure. And then I read the book and it was different than I thought it was going to be, but I loved it.
Right.
And so like, I mean, I see both. I guess because I went into it like not really sure what I was getting into, and then I like read the rest of the way through it. Like I can see, because I just was like, okay, I'm just gonna let this book take me wherever at this point. So like, I guess, like I can see both, because like if I had picked it up specifically for, one reason or another, like going into it expecting one thing or another, then maybe it would have been different. But for me, because I picked it up without really any expectation put on it, I think that, because like if you pick it up expecting it to be more mystery thriller, then you're gonna feel,
right, like the book was never scary.
And then if you're gonna go in,
I wasn't
expecting
in
it
in the most traditional sense.
Yeah, but and then if you
the
like,
seller was kind of scary.
Line, if you go in with the expectation of learning about, somebody's experience and the cultural,
but that's like half of it. That's like a lot of
like,
indigenous literature, whether it be from like no matter where it's from, is that there are like cultural like metaphor and allegory like hidden everywhere, which is like a lot of the reasons why some people either like miss it completely, or they like fail to grasp like certain aspects of it, or like something always tends to like fly. It's kind of like an Easter egg. Sometimes you get it, sometimes you're like, oh, I didn't see that and now I do. And it's just based on, it's like it bases on like the exploration of experience in some points of indigenous literature.
I think that you can also make the argument that, like, on top of everything else, this is also a story about a father and a daughter.
Yeah, and but I think it's important that it's a story about a father and his biracial daughter too.
Right.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be the same if she was white.
Well, no, I mean, but like just the emotion of.
It'd be about something completely different if she was white.
Yeah, but even if it like she was a white ghost helping him solve the exact same crime, it wouldn't.
No, absolutely.
I mean, like you could pull out of the story just like the character story, or the character development of those characters and that relationship.
I just think like
this book does a lot in 200 pages.
It really does. It really it takes you places. But I think that like when you read stuff like this and it's so far different from like our lived experiences, that the responsible thing to do is then to like research it. And like I'm lucky in the sense that like I've taken enough, like I took a global indigenous history course, so I'm very familiar with what happened in Australia specifically. Because every global indigenous history course does Kansas, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, US, and that's their limited perspective. But So to me, this was like, I think this book almost needs that like follow-up lesson or beginning
it does
lesson.
have a lot of nuance to it.
Or even like you going into it, you need to have done, like when I was talking about Sorrowland, like that's one that you very much need to have a base level knowledge of what happened to Indigenous people and Black people in this country in order to get like half of the story.
Or
so
you need to be like you need to I think it's like ethically your duty as a reader to then, if you're like, what's this? I don't get this, to then go find out.
Right.
Yeah.
Because like they're putting out this piece of literature.
That's true for
saying,
anything.
like, this is what's happening to our women.
That's
Yep. Oh yeah, and that's like literally how I ended up doing my master's, is because I read a book about a war I didn't know existed. And I was like, fuck, I gotta go learn more. But
I think the interesting thing that I thought when I was like reading this, and like you get to the point where it starts talking about colonialism and how like it was white men, like my thought was, man, white people are awful.
Yeah,
because like welcome in the 21st century.
Yeah, we done knew this.
In your
Brianna's in like 1492 right now. Like, what are they doing?
But like, okay, think about it, like American history is like we don't learn a lot.
Yeah.
And it's very whitewashed. But like you do like, you start to learn a little bit about how like there was colonialism in America, but then like to realize that like it also was happening all over the globe. And you're just like, oh wow.
And I think like one of the interesting like perspectives about Australia specifically is the way their genocide functioned was a bit unique in terms of, instead of like putting everyone, because in Canada it's like if you have any like a drop of Indigenous blood on your male side, you're Indigenous, that's it. But in Australia they had like 2 designations where if you were like darker skinned, you were forced into like labor, and if you were lighter skinned, you were married a lighter skinned woman, and specifically that's why this is important, you were married to a white woman to like over the years eliminate indigeneity from your blood, like essentially. So like literally when they're talking about being stripped of color and how to find that back, and like to roots and stuff, like that's not like that's literal. It's not necessarily about like mental health. Like it can be, it also is. So especially about self-harm and like how do you cope with that pain? Self-harm, drugs, like that's, but it's like very literal. The goal of the Australian government was to strip women of their color. And I think that like if you don't have that perspective, maybe that like, because it's almost using a magical. Can you not do that?
Yeah, mommy's talking serious talk.
It's almost like using this allegory to tell like a very literal experience. And that's why I think that the most power Isabel had was like literally going through and reciting the women's lineage. Like
that was really powerful.
And I think it's also really important that one of the first things we hear her say is like, oh, well, I can't be Indigenous, I'm too light skinned for you.
Yes.
You can tell that her ancestors, the women in her family, have gone through years of like literal eugenics where they're being bred, like literally bred to white men. And I think that's, I think like it's not the story that we associate with in Canada and the United States, because we actually got our residential school idea from you and then just made it worse. Made it so much worse. But Australia had its own like fucked up system where the Indigenous population is darker skinned than you would associate here. So they had anti-Blackness and anti-indigeneity. And so like the eugenics going on was absolutely wild and horrendous. And I think that that's what this tells. And I think that there's like a duty that we all have, having read it, to like reflect on that. And that's kind of just like when I'm like, when I know a book is a piece of Indigenous lit or a piece of African lit or whatever, I pick it up differently than I pick up a romance novel, than I pick up a sci-fi, because I'm like, okay, like this has been put out there for me to like learn something and to like I expect and I hope to be made uncomfortable by it. And I think that like that's the point of this, and it accomplished that 5,000% because it's super uncomfortable.
I'm so proud of you, Christine. Like, you're saying all these things. I'm like, oh my gosh, an intellectual.
Thank you. It took years of professors being like, "You're a dumb white bitch." So.
No, I think that is a great summary and a great way to like wrap that all up. Does anybody have any final thoughts? No? Okay. Well, thank you for summarizing that, Christine. You did a very good job.
Thank you. You can tell my professor from Global Indigenous Lit that I did that reading.
I have to say that I really enjoyed having this conversation because it helps getting so many different perspectives on a book like this, where there's so many different ways you can go into it and experience it. And so, like, for me, just getting to hear everybody's different, because like I said, I went into it, with a cover by. So it, the first time I read it, it was like, I don't, and then this time I was more like nitpicking a little bit, looking into, details within Catching Story to like, further, comprehend. Because like I said, I understood some things, I missed some things the first time through that I noticed this time more, symbolism and things like that. Yeah. So
this is definitely one that I'll want to like reread and annotate and note.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna buy it. I think it's one that'll literally force people to read. Like,
and it's so short.
But, I think this is
so easy to reread. You can I can reread that.
This is what I really miss about university seminars is that I would do this like 5 times a week, where we would come in and we'd all done the same reading and we just argue about it. And to me, it's like the most stimulating fucking thing in the world. And it brings out a weird side in me because we could have read like all a romance book and I'm like, it's cute.
I would sit in Professor Christine's class.
Thank you. So we'll now be having seminars for 3 hours every other Wednesday.
Let's do it.
What Wednesday do we start on?
Your readings will be 700 pages a night. I actually had a professor for Viking history. First of all, Viking.
Oh, no wonder you don't like Viking shit.
She's like, yeah, it's expected you read about 600 pages a week for this course. And I was like, this is an elective in the German department that 10 people took because the word Vikings is in the title. Like, this is nobody's degree.
Stop.
My core courses are like 90 pages a week. No. 600 pages.
Well, thank you everyone for this discussion. It was really good. I think this was probably one of the most, well, I don't want to say most interesting, but like it was like most intellectual.
We have 3 really good topics to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. And they were all like distinct, but they all kind of like
they fell under that same umbrella in a way of being about.
They would be different parts of the same course.
Yes.
We went to Australia, we went to Wakanda, and we kind of went to Hong Kong and Nepal, but like not really. We went to Atlanta Pinewood Studios.
We looked at the pamphlet.
We flew over Hong Kong.
We flew
our way back to Hollywood.
Hi bye.
Yeah, but we really went to Australia.
We went right over there.
We flew from London to New York by way of Hong Kong.
We went the long way around. That is what Doctor Strange feels like. It feels like the longest travel fucking movie. And then he went there. And then he went there. Oh, he used the portal. Why does it feel so long?
All right. So October's live show will be on Margaret's channel. Is that right?
I think so, because I'm 5 and October is the 10th month.
Yeah. I don't know. I couldn't even remember if it was on my channel this time or not.
Yes, it is on Margaret's.
I thought it was on Christine's channel.
I have it
So
written down and everything.
So which movies are we watching again?
And we'll be watching
Ragnarok.
Black Widow
Watching
and
your
then
boy, Michelle.
What?
I said we're watching your boy. Thor.
Yay! I'm so excited.
I'm gonna cry.
I'm gonna have so many notes.
Those are gonna be two very good movies. That's gonna be a great month.
Between Loki in one of his best roles, Valkyrie, and sad Thor, I'm just gonna.
Can we?
Oh,
And
and
that's gonna be on the heels of Yelena.
And Heimdall with dreads.
Oh.
Mm.
Thank you all
So many good things
for watching tonight and sticking with us for 2 hours.
Yeah.
While we talk and rant and whatever else we did today.
Daniel Day Kim for Doctor Strange.
There you go. Anyway, thank you all. And do you guys have anything you want to plug on your channels?
Next month is in Digithon. The announcement is on mine and Bear's channel. And then also, I did this for October.
It's so good.
I love the best so much. It brings me so much joy.
I'm
The
gonna
entirety
go
of
watch
it is
Emma
with
and do
the
mine.
impact in Russian.
I love it.
The whole thing.
How did you do that?
Google.
Do you know you're really smart, Michelle?
Because we knew. Because we know.
I try.
Anyways, go check out Michelle's announcement video for Indigithon because Michelle did a fantastic job
I'm gonna
on
watch.
those graphics, and they always do a really fun readathon every year.
Absolutely.
For which I'm sure this book covers like a prompt, right?
Not
If you-
the November book might.
November stuff.
I don't know.
The Indigithon?
If it's your favorite color, or if it's because if your favorite color is on the cover, or yeah, that's probably it. But it still counts. I mean, you can still read it and be like, I read during Indigithon.
Tis
An
indigenous
indigenous- yeah.
literature.
It is indigenous literature.
Mhm.
Yes.
Very
In
nice.
like the most rad way too.
Yes.
I'm trying to get back into the swing of BookTube. I have in fact gotten my August wrap up finally up.
It was pretty
Despite-
funny.
Lipstick difficulties. This is why I'm off by a month, is because it came out like even later than I was.
I would
planning.
like to say I watched every second of that video because I told you that it was okay, that the lipstick was like a worthy excuse to delay it, and I stuck to my word and I watched every second.
I appreciate that, Michelle. And then
But are you going
I
to
don't know.
film your September wrap up tomorrow?
I'm gonna film it on Sunday because Sunday is my filming day. I can't listen. So there is a video that I have. Well, actually, no, wait, because the 7th is not Wednesday. I have to figure out when I am posting next week for reasons because October 7th is a thing. So
What's coming out October 7th?
Well, we've already talked about it. It's not like
Okay.
it's yeah.
Net Galley, November.
Yeah.
we did.
I was listening.
Yeah, we did.
Oh!
Galley.
See, then there's
Maybe it's a thing.
Brianna came up with a really cool idea, got me to get a NetGalley account again. And we're only missing one. 3 of us are here.
We're missing Kathy.
We're missing Kathy. I really appreciate the Americans to Canadians ratio being 50.
Oh, I didn't even do that on purpose.
Like
Finally, I have an ally.
I
Also,
and
he's in the Pacific time zone, so I'm not even the farthest one behind.
that's funny. I looked at that list of people in that group chat and I was like, 2 Americans, 2 Canadians. This fulfills a part of my
Whoa.
soul because it is perfectly
Did I
like,
sound
right in the middle.
really Canadian there when I said, "Oh, she's from BC." Oh, British Columbia.
She is, and she's also a demi, so like we've bonded over that before, like
Perfection.
a little bit.
Yes, that's that. We'll be announcing that next week officially.
I also have a video coming out next week where I read I have read all the books that I listed in my most anticipated books of the year.
Oh my
Wow.
god! I'm so proud of
Releases.
you.
I read them all. They all came out like Iron Widow was
Find
the
you a
latest.
gold star.
And so I did
Oh,
a little wrap up of like,
Ready?
this one was good. This one was by TJ Klune. So I said, no, I'm not going to read it. I was like, mm-mm. So,
I still have that
that's
sitting
coming
in my
out.
belly right now, and I'm like, what do I do?
But then my other, and this is just for what?
I still have the TJ Klune book sitting on NetGalley, and I'm like, what do I do with this? Because I don't
Poop
want
on
to
it.
Well, if you say or like not going to rate or something like that, it affects your score.
It affects your score.
Well,
I
you
would
could just
scroll
give it a
through it.
rating and then say something generic.
Yeah.
you could
Just
do
pretend.
that, or you could
It's
say,
like copy another review.
well, you could do that, or you could. I mean, like, if it were me, I would give it a rating, and then I would say I am giving this rating because I'm not happy with the fact that he appropriated indigenous
Yeah, you
culture
could say
to
that.
write this book, and then went around bragging about it.
Because then NetGalley will still count it, but the publisher will see that and be like, oof.
Oh, okay, we get it.
But then the
Which I
other
think
announcement
is
for my
enough.
channel.
Sorry.
The other announcement for my channel is actually Margaret. Do you want to watch Emma together on like Teleparty after this?
That would be so cute. You should do it.
You know, I was gonna ask you.
Do you guys want to come too?
What? What are we doing?
Watching Emma.
Because I own it. Because we I have it on YouTube, so we could Teleparty it.
Okay.
So I bought it because I was like, it's not on Netflix. So I was like, okay, bye.
It's on HBO Max.
It's on
right
Amazon
now.
Prime.
Anyways,
You
that's
have
all.
to buy it those small.
We're gonna wrap this up. Otherwise, we're gonna just go on to a ramble. So, thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time, and we'll talk in the Discord.